Go to this one, and hopefully this works. All right, guys, let us know. It looks like it looks like we're up again. All right, so let's start this all over again. Apologies here for the issues. We are back. Let us know if we still have sound. Look at it. We got all
mic on,
we got all
sound on,
kinds
no
of
ball
tweets.
dog.
We have these issues all the time, man.
No, this is the first time we've had no sound. Google Hangouts been shit in the bed before.
All right, so what we were talking shit actually to just start this, but then let's go through another recap of what happened today. Just to make sure we get some substance here to our otherwise pointless shows. All right, so here we go, and looks like we might not. Are we still on?
No phonetics.
No phonetics. He's joking.
Yeah, that's quite. I like that.
Well, he got the faux jokes.
I like that.
They're actually pretty good.
I know. I do like that.
All right, guys. So markets reversed today. We're gonna go ahead and cut a lot of that out in the video. So when you get to see the replay on the website, it'll be gutted and edited down as well. So market had a huge reversal today, as you can see. Most of these stocks were down significantly. Priceline, Google, you name it. People were definitely taking profits off. You can make the case for both stories. You can make the case for the long, assuming that we sold off considerably and we've done this before and we've come right back. Or you can really make the case that people are now going to start coming out of some of these and start taking some profits. And personally, I think the latter, because Priceline, Google, a lot of these names really took it on the chin today. The only thing that I would say is still kind of making me somewhat bullish is this Bank of America holding here 17 over 17. But names like Visa, names like MasterCard, casinos, you name it, people were taking profits all over, especially and then even on the social networks as well. All right, so on top of that too, check out gold and check out the treasuries. Check out the move in TLT today, which was very impressive. And you could also make the case that, okay, now that people are moving into bonds, people are moving into gold, and all these other, metrics, maybe even the Dow Industrials and, the Colgates of the world, maybe now you have a case for an actual sell-off. All right, so that's the spiel there. Let's go ahead and take some questions. Here we go. So first question is, we got Faisal here. Sang talking about a big loss from the Russia-Ukraine news coming out. Why doesn't this show up on the tape? Wouldn't the news result in a lot of huge orders on the bid, which should be an indication to sell or go short the options? Okay, now Faisal is asking a question which pertains to an event that happened earlier this week. Was it earlier this week?
Last week.
I lost track of days. You know what I mean? They're so long now. I got nothing. I mean, I don't know what happened yesterday. I have no idea.
Well, it's because you've been sucked into House of Cards, man. You're in a whole different universe.
I ran through all kinds of episodes on that House of Cards.
My God. Well, it was last Friday, right, that you were in.
Yes.
You guys were in that position, and then Putin was basically like moving troops to the border.
So there was a fluke. It was basically a fluke panic sell. But this all happened overnight. So Faisal, you got to realize that all this is happening overnight, and the market gaps lower. All right. So effectively, unless you're trading in the after-hours session, you can't get out of a lot of size here. There's not that much liquidity. Now, if you're trading futures, okay, which plenty of people are, then there's plenty of liquidity to go ahead and get in and get out on. All right, but as far as individual names, you're just talking about gaps. That's it. So that's why you don't see, those huge sell orders as a result of X, Y, and Z news event. And when the market opened that day, we kind of just chopped around. There was a little bit of selling pressure on individual names, and then all of a sudden we just shot right back up. And then the next day we went to fresh all-time highs. So it was a joke. It was a joke. Essentially, it was a joke. But if I saw a lot of things happen in the after hours, okay? You got to be aware of that. You got to understand that there are forces and there are pressures going on in Asia, Europe, wherever that could affect futures prices for the U.S. and also affect the cash market open, which is at 9:30. And options, they don't open until 9:30. You cannot trade options after hours. You can't trade them from anywhere from 9:30 or anywhere before 9:30 or anywhere after 4:30. Only ETFs can be traded. Is it 4:15, Brian?
415.
It's 415.
Now, I'm pretty sure it's still around, but Globex E-mini options do trade 24 hours.
They trade 24 hours.
No one really trades them, but there's edge.
There's edge there. Okay, all right. So
Ryan will do a webinar on that later. That sounds like some sketchy shit.
All right, so that's the answer from Faisal. We have a question from Balu here. How do you identify volume is increasing or decreasing at swing points? How do you decide that a stock is rejecting a swing point, okay? So now, without too much reference to technicals and swing points and this and that, we're just going to say swing point is a reference to a heavily traded area in a particular stock, where you could say a name is breaking out or a name is breaking down. So he's saying, how do you identify volume is increasing? Well, Balu, a lot of this stuff can be done on your time and sales. So a lot of this stuff can be done just by simply looking at a level 2 or time and sales. Now, let me throw this one up here. Let's see if I can get it. Here we go. So a lot of it is done just by looking at here, and that's for me. That's particular for me. So what I will do is I will look at the frequency of the orders going off, and I'll look at the size of orders going off. All of a sudden, if you see these big, giant market sweeps that take place in names like Apple or whatever stock it is that you're trading, well, that is a big increase in volume, all right? Because it's a large increase in the frequency of transactions. So all of a sudden, you're seeing transactions going off every single second versus every minute, let's say, where you look at a name like an AZO who trades, you know, every like 30 seconds. There might be a trade every 30 seconds or every minute. Whereas you take a name like Apple, which trades very frequently in fractions of seconds, okay? So that's the way that I gauge volume. Other people do it just by looking at their charts and just looking at their volume bars on the charts and to say, okay, you know, there's some more volume going off right here. You know, but those are ways that you can do it. I'm assuming you're asking this question, though, to give yourself a read on if a move is for real or if it's bullshit. And Balu, you know, it's difficult to use volume in this situation. You can, obviously, but for me, I just look at actual bid and ask. So, for example, let's bring up Apple. When she got up to 538 this morning, most people are going long. She almost hit 540 this morning. Everybody is going long and saying, okay, this stock is going to 550 bucks. Then all of a sudden, you take a look at your indexes, you see selling pressure on all of your other names, and then all of a sudden that momentum shifts, regardless if there was good buying volume. Okay, it's just meant the circumstances changed, the environment changed. So I personally don't think volume, just looking at volumes and doing your volume profiling, is enough of an indicator to give you, you know, that definite answer. Like, okay, I'm going to take this thing long, I'm going to take this thing short. You might see some volume coming in that's good, and you want to get in front of it, and you buy and go long, but if circumstances change, you got to be able to flip too, which is exactly what happened today. And it screwed a lot of people today, all right? So that's Paula's question. Then we have a couple more questions here. Who's this question from here, Charlie?
This is Greg. This one is from Greg, the intern. Many of you know him.
Greg, the intern.
He actually had sometimes he asks me if he can ask questions and stuff through this because he has questions that he thinks would be good for the public to you know, to hear the answer to, and today we said yes.
So this is at Options Trader NJ. If anybody want to follow him, you know, make sure you talk shit about him.
Yeah.
Just say bad things.
Just say horrible things.
Yeah, just say bad things.
His ego's way too big.
So he's asking, in times of chop, when you remove yourself from the market completely, how do you keep your finger off the trigger? I mean, I think this is a great one because it's something that I love the idea of. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things in life that you think about and you're like, that sounds great, the idea. And you're like, if I could do that, my life would be so much better. And then you just never do it.
And then the practice of it.
Right? And then the practice of it, you just collapse and you just never do. Right. That's one of those ideas. You think about it, and all of you guys are here. I'm sure you're laughing at this situation. Most people have this issue. In times of chop, when you remove yourself from the market, you know you shouldn't be. There's two sides of this. You know you shouldn't be trading, or you've already removed yourself. Like he's talking about today, when I just sat here and I did nothing.
Did not trade. Right.
Okay, and there's another reason why I can't. I mean, we're trying to do this to make sure that we're cutting down a lot of the risk for our investors.
Right.
You know, and I can also keep a mental check on myself. Right. So there's that side of things. And that's also very hard. I mean, trust me, dude, every single second of the day, especially today, you know, I'm sitting there like, wow, I should be in this right now. I should be in this right now. I should be in this right now. I will say, though, that if you're looking at shop and your instincts are telling you that you shouldn't be trading, it is very difficult to not trade. It's extremely difficult. Why? Because you're there. The money is right in front of you. And if it's right in front of you, it's just, you know, it's black and white to you at that point. It's like, okay, the money's here. I'm not doing anything. Let's get in a trade. That's it. You know, whether you should be in it or whether your instincts are saying, you know what, the probabilities of you making that trade are not good. Even if you know the probabilities are not that good, you're still going to hit the button. That's the fucked up part. You're still going to hit the button. So what do you have to do? Well, it's personal then. You know, then it becomes personal. Then it becomes, okay, I know I have X, Y, and Z issue, and I know I can solve it by doing X, Y, and Z. So if your solution is just step away and go to the freaking library or go to the gym, that might be your solution. If you might have another solution where you want to trade, but you can cut your size down. Maybe you force yourself to cut your size down. You know, but if you can't trust yourself to do X, Y, and Z, which most people can't, you have to come out with another hack, per se. We call it the mental hack.
Right, yeah, find your mental hack. And it's like, it's one of those things we always talk about knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are as, you know, a trader. And if you've been around, if you have never traded before and you're saying, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to sit in front of a computer and not trade when you know, I got the trade station on in front of me, that's you have to give yourself a shot. You have to understand who you are as a trader, what your strengths and weaknesses are. But you know, if you've been trading for 5 years or 10 years and you know yourself well enough where you're like, listen, I can't do this kind of thing, then don't drain your mental, you know, your willpower. Don't drain your mental capital sitting there trying to force yourself to do something. Find that little hack. Find that little, you know, thing that you can do to kind of cut the corner and make it easier on yourself. That's the name of the game, is making it easier on yourself, right?
Right. And these mental hacks, they go a long way, because oftentimes we don't understand the full extent of something until something bad happens. I mean, you can take that quote and post it everywhere. You know what I mean? You don't understand the full extent of what you're doing until something shitty happens.
Perfect segue.
You know what I mean? Until something shitty happens.
Perfect segue.
What do you got?
I got a question for you. All right, guys. So if you haven't seen, you guys should check out Lucci's Twitter feed right now. If you haven't seen it, or just go to the site, go to sanglucci.com. I've been reading Reminiscence of a Stock Operator for the last couple of days, and I sat down with Lucci, and he's been doing some of his own posts in the spirit of that book, right? And he just put one up that is one of the best posts I think he's ever written on the site. It's a tremendous, tremendous post. And he's talking about, you know, yesterday's post was about his $1.2 million win in Citigroup, right? That's easy to write about. Today's post was about the next trade, the next big trade that he made, which was like a, you know, $350,000 loss, right? Right. And he, you know, true to the spirit of what we're all about here, you know, he wrote about it in full disclosure. And so I have a question.
Oh, shit.
You guys need to read this post, by the way. So this is from the end of the post.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give it away, but essentially you kind of say at the end of the post that, you know, traders have ebbs and flows, right?
Yes.
Traders have ebbs and flows,
yes.
And the nature of things is that, you know, you have your highs, but inevitably you come back to your lows,
yes.
right?
Yes.
My question for you is, do you think it's possible for a trader to, because the way you worded it is very specific, is it possible for a trader to be more to be at their highs,
right?
Or to say that they will have their lows, but then they will always come back to their highs, right? Sort of like a glass half empty versus half full kind of bullshit, but like it is a big distinction, right? And
yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's a matter of like getting that big win and then sort of lose, and get the big win?
Right. I think it's a matter. I think it has to do with you believing in what your strategy is. It's you believing who you are as a person and how that filters out into how you trade.
Right.
So, for example, if your strategy is to be consistent, and you never take losing days, take Ryan here. You know what I mean? Who never really takes losing days.
Right.
But all of a sudden, when he took some losing days, his fucking world was collapsing. His world was collapsing in front of his eyes.
How to deal with it. I didn't know.
He didn't know. You don't know how to deal with it. So his
that's how
lows,
good the man is.
His lows are there. Like that was his low.
It's all
You know what I mean?
by your standard deviation of P&L.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like Lucci is like, you lose 100 G's, you're like, well, I'm gonna go play video games. Me, I'd be like, I'm dead.
and to his point, you know, I lost $350,000 in that post. I just never have lost that kind of money before.
Right.
After doing it once, I lose $350,000. I know I'm coming back. I know I'm coming back.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Right.
But you get used to it. You get used to it. It still sucks.
Right.
And you're still hitting your lows. And what happens as a result is always there. So if, let's say, your lows means that you're just not even going out anymore, you're ripping through House of Cards like 8 episodes at a time because you don't want to go out.
Right.
Your girl hits you up, it's like, come over. You're like, I'm watching this episode. I'm not fucking going anywhere. I gotta jump in the shower for this girl. I'm not doing that, man.
I gotta put on shoes.
Come on, man. I'm comfortable.
I want to say something though. Like,
all right.
to me, it's
move into the camera.
Sometimes it's good if you lose. Like for me, sometimes it's good if I lose money because it'll expand my tolerance for losing money, so I can get into a trade and stay in it, and it becomes a winner. Like a couple weeks ago, Priceline, I made like $1,000. I had a couple bad weeks. It was maybe half of what I should be making, but I was like, at this point, I was like, well, I've lost some money, or I haven't made as much as I wanted to. Let's do a lottery ticket. Let's really think about, and at that moment, I was like, Priceline, I think, is going to revert the whole market dump, and I was right, and I was happy. I wish I did 180 instead of 18, but I made $1,000 off that. So it helped.
You got your stomach a little bit more used to dealing with that.
And I wasn't afraid about losing money because I was already kind of in the red a little bit anyway. So, but I also limited to I buy a cheap option. I'm not going to go sell something just like to sell it and be like, oh, let's hope and pray.
Right.
The reversal happens. I did something that was intelligent enough. I'm going to keep buying. And I kind of know, and I read the tape. I'm learning about the tape. Priceline is a good place for you to learn the tape.
Right.
And, it worked out. And it made me feel better and more confident.
Right.
So losses become a winner.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly.
I like
you
that.
Pay for information. You pay to understand, yourself. You pay to learn and all that. And then you come back. But you have to have that conviction.
Right.
Most people don't have that in and of itself.
Right.
Because you taste that failure and it breaks you to the point where you can't, you don't want to come back.
Right.
You don't want to come back and you don't want to challenge it. You don't want to, you don't want to prove to yourself that it's easier to drop it and go find something else.
And
that might be easier to cope with or whatever the case may be. But I find that to be a slippery slope anyway.
And I was actually, I'm going to write something. Lucci and I made a bet with one another, by the way, because we were saying that we both need to write more, and so we decided that if one of us didn't write at least an article a week, that the other one had to, that if you don't write an article a week, then we have to clean Pete's bathroom, which
is disgusting.
Which is, I'd rather clean the porta potties at Coachella than, clean that out.
He shits like 8 times a day.
Yeah, he eats like 500 grams of protein a day.
It's disgusting.
But anyway, so I'm going to write an article about, I feel like even though you kind of look at what you do, trading, and I feel like a lot of us do, Brian and Pete and Roy and the whole crew, is like, even though it is very tough, it's still kind of the path of least resistance, right? Because it's like, even though this is not easy, you would rather do this than do anything else. You can't imagine yourself, like going to a corporate environment, it's like, that'd be like putting bamboo shoots underneath your fingernails. You'd rather sit here and lose money every day.
I would.
Than do that.
I would.
Right?
I would. So, it's a good point.
People, I think, look at, I'm sitting here last night, guys, and it's 11 p.m. I'm about to fall asleep with my girlfriend, and I'm seeing shadows walk by my glass doors because, Pete's on a phone call and Roy's on a phone call. We got meetings going on in here. And
at 11 at night.
And I'm thinking it was one of the first times I was like, what we do here is completely insane. Like, we are running, there is a company being run outside of these doors. I can't even block noise and light out. Right outside of my doors, and I'm like, most people look at this and they're like, that is unhealthy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But for us, it's like
we wouldn't be doing anything else.
This is the path of least resistance. Not to say that it's easy, but it's like this is what
This is what
we feel like is easiest to do. Yeah.
But again, we have the conviction. We're here because we have that conviction.
You have the conviction.
And even when shit looks horrible and you don't see yourself coming around the bend, we're still at it.
Guys, read that article.
We're still at it.
Read the one that came before it. Read this one, and then tomorrow it's a whole series. So we got a couple more coming. Lucci's putting some good stuff out there for you guys.
All right, so we got one more question. I love this one, so I got to do this one. Knowing that you're going to California for a brain scan, which will be gone over by a psychologist, are you scared that you may find out that you are a complete nut job? Or does that come with the territory of being a trader? This is hilarious.
All traders are crazy.
I think all people are inherently crazy.
I totally agree with that.
I think everybody has their little quirks that would be considered crazy from somebody else or whatever. Everybody has their little thing.
I'm yet to meet a normal person.
You know, exactly. You know, and this is even in regular social interactions where you'll go out to the bar to just meet people, even though these guys are normal because they have 9 to 5s or whatever. The shit that comes out of their mouth, you're looking at them like they got 5 heads. Like, why would you say something like that? Right. You're fucking crazy. And these are quote unquote normal people.
Yeah.
You know, and you take Greg the intern himself. What about him is normal? What about that kid?
He's a Neanderthal.
He's a
freak of evolution. He should be living, 2,000 years ago in a cave. Probably survive. He's a big, bulky Neanderthal. He'd thrive. He'd do quite well.
You know. So am I scared about it? No, not at all. And I think I've gotten to the point where my ego is now a lot less as far as what goes on in my mind than it was before. I think 5 years ago, if you told psychology to me, I would have smacked the hell out of you.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, shut up, man. Just do what you got to do. You know, it's not addressing what's going on up here. You're not thinking about it, right. Or you don't want to think about it. You're avoiding thinking about it, but you know, like that's where the problems exist.
Right.
So now I'm cool. I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it. And I think to be a trader, you have to be insane. You have to be insane to some extent to think that, you can change your circumstance and really do something different, than the normal path. I think you do have to be somewhat crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
in the mind of everybody else.
Yeah.
Even if you're working at a startup.
Yeah.
Or you're taking a lot of risk for an unexpected future event, right?
Right. I mean, when the odds are inherently stacked against you, right? Exactly. I mean, if you look at the numbers of startups or whatever, if you looked at it objectively, you would have to be crazy to do it because it doesn't make you have to have a belief that you have the outlier within you. So,
but there's so much appeal to it, and people still just come in and try to swing away, man.
Well, and we talk about psychology too a lot of times in the context of like an NBA player, right? You guys hear about like Kobe and Shaq didn't really do it as he got older, but Jordan I think was a similar example of like at their younger years they weren't working out nearly as hard. They weren't putting in the workouts that they needed to do because they had the fundamental just. By their very nature, they had the tools they needed to get to a certain level, right? But then they got to that certain level, and they realized that they had sort of maxed out, and they were like, "Where's the remaining edge here? Where's my remaining improvement?
Where is that edge?"
And Lucci and I have talked about psychology and all that stuff in the past before. It's like he's not going to get any better at reading the tape, right? I mean, he's not going to understand.
Skills. Yeah, like you have your skills, but where is that edge? Where is that edge in a market where that edge is disappearing away from you every single second? Like, where is that edge?
Right.
And it's that scene from Any Given Sunday, man, when he's like, you fight for
inches. The inches we need.
The inches we need
are everywhere around us.
You fight for that edge.
I love that speech.
All right, guys. So we're gonna leave it there. We'll see you guys on Tuesday for our weekly Tuesday TVs. Apparently, Weiner wants
I just want to give a shout out to Darrell Revis for signing with the Patriots. I know he's watching.
Baby. Patriots, baby.
Broncos absolutely won the free agent season. Everybody knows that. I gotta do a shameless plug.
What?
I gotta do a shameless plug for the 12-day course starting next week, this coming Monday, right? We got Brian Weiner for the first time teaching a class on hedging. We got Lucci, of course, teaching his usual 12 days.
Yes, sir.
15% off on the site. Just put in the coupon code PRICELINE. Yes, you have to do it in all caps. No, I can't explain why it has to be all caps. But yes, you get 15% off. So sign up, guys. It's a phenomenal class.
All right, guys. Take care.